Welcome, viewers. Welcome to yet another episode of our Global Conversations. And with me, as always, Mr. Henry Jenkins, our CEO, and Mr. Ruben, one of the communication specialists. So, let me get straight to it. We have a very interesting topic we're going to talk about today. Very interesting, okay? It's by CNBC. There was a study conducted by some Yale economists, and here's how likely it is that Bitcoin will become worthless, as in down to zero. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's, if I go into it, it says it's important to remember that its value can fall all the way back to zero. In fact, there is a 0.4% chance that Bitcoin becomes worthless, according to a new report by two Yale University economists. Yeah, so those are really strong comments there.
It is. It's very strong, but you can't really deny the fact that what they're saying has some level of truth to it. Because there's this law that says everything goes back to from whence it came.
Okay. You know? Ashes to ashes.
Yeah, dust to dust. You know, and in the hood, I got to go back to the hood where I came from.
All right.
There's a saying that says, you finish how you start. And listening to those things, you can't deny that Bitcoin started at zero. Yeah. It started at zero. But that also holds true for everything else. Gold started at zero.
Okay.
At some point. And all other things started at zero. So you would also say that applies to everything else.
Okay.
If we're saying that is only applicable to Bitcoin, we wouldn't be fair. Because it does say in that article also that there's a probability the other fiat currencies can go. And we know that, historically speaking, that has happened. We know that. That's happened many times over, all over the world. So, by them making that comment, I can't really say that they're wrong or they're right. And I think they're approaching it in a proper way by putting a certain level of probability.
Of probability to it.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to me. I think I'm curious to hear what Ruben has to say about this.
And I wanted to get a little bit more time to dig into the numbers to see just how they arrived at those probabilities.
Okay.
Because, they compare, I think we're going to get into this later on, but they compare the top cryptocurrencies with some of the leading fiat currencies.
Yeah.
And there's such a massive discrepancy or difference between the risk for cryptocurrencies and the risk for fiat currencies. So I'm just really curious about what metrics or what's the thought process that led them to arrive at that, conclusion.
Yeah.
Because, even if all things started at zero, there are some things where theoretically they started at zero, but practically we can never identify a time where they were at zero. So you mentioned gold, that gold started at zero. Yeah, in theory. Yeah. But as far as archaeologists and as far as people can look back into the history of things, gold was never worthless.
Okay.
So it's actually a tough thing for me to wrap my head around when you say that gold started at zero.
Had to. Because at some point, gold was not within our level of awareness.
It had to be discovered.
It had to be discovered. But it was here already before it was discovered.
Exactly.
So what was the value then?
So you only started to have value once people realized that this is scarce. You can't find it anyway, so that's when the value came. But
exactly, because people may even discovered it at one point, saw it, threw it to the side.
Like, man, it's just another rock.
Just another rock.
But when they discovered that they couldn't find another rock like that just that easily, then
But could that same logic not be used for Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because if it started off at zero, but then people discovered the utility of it or the value of it,
Yeah.
then like gold, it's difficult to argue that it's going to go back to zero.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very difficult to argue that it would go back to zero. But then what if Bitcoin 2.0 comes? And my argument, what I was saying about MySpace.
exactly.
No one could foresee that MySpace is going away in the next 10, 15 years. I mean, no one could have argued that. And someone would have said, yeah. No, everyone believed in MySpace, man. They believed in it, you know.
So like, okay, hypothetically speaking, if it was to happen that Bitcoin drops down to zero, and it's worthless totally, given the market cap it currently has right now, huge, it has the biggest, how would it affect cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and everyone else? How would it then affect it? Will it affect it in a good way or in a bad way?
Definitely a bad way. Definitely. Okay. Because I say this because when you look at what's happening with the market right now, when Bitcoin suffers, everyone, typically a majority of the market suffers. Not everyone, but a majority of the market responds to what's happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up, the entire market goes up. And all the other coins tend to follow suit. So I think it's very safe to say that it would cause a problem. However, however, when Facebook came and overtook MySpace, did that mean all social media platforms went to zero? No.
Does it make Bitcoin like the US dollar of cryptocurrencies?
No. Nah, but it's a good thing to think about. I mean, when you think about that, it does have some level of,
because it does shake, it does shake the world when something happens to the dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's I think it's a different level of interconnectedness between the dollar and other fiat currencies.
All right.
Whereas in cryptocurrencies, I don't think the rules hold the same way. It's the most dominant.
Okay.
And see, this is the thing with the question that you asked, right? You said, Walker, if Bitcoin were to fall to zero, what would happen to the other ones?
Yeah.
Perhaps for the lay person looking at it, it might look as if, hey, the entire market's just gone down. You know, but for people who are looking into them, separating them one by one and understanding the nature of each of the different cryptocurrencies, I think it's more separate in the sense that Bitcoin might theoretically go down to zero, but a competitor to Bitcoin might go all the way up.
Okay.
So it's not as interconnected.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's not that. Okay, so then if we were to add, okay, I know we've spoke about gold-backed cryptocurrencies on the last episode. If we were to add gold to Bitcoin, if more currencies, let's say Bitcoin is the way it is, then more currencies come in that are gold-backed, gold royalty-backed, that have some sort of backing that is intrinsic value in it and is not necessarily just because of scarcity and the like. Would it then mean that if Bitcoin was to fall down to zero, what would it mean for the gold-backed or asset-backed cryptocurrencies?
I don't think that they would respond the exact same way Bitcoin would. Bitcoin now holds and enjoys that level of reverence because it was first. And the aspect that there are no centralized aspects of Bitcoin. There's no one that has to administrate and say, you know, you get to have a Bitcoin, but you don't.
You don't.
It's only available over on this phone, but not on that phone.
Not on that phone.
Yeah. It's not regionally based. It's not based on if you are within the good books of the IMF or you owe the bank this much money or you can't get any credit. You know what I mean? It's really decentralized. So other places like gold-backed or asset-backed cryptocurrencies, there's a bit of administration involved. So people shy away a little bit from it.
From that.
Yeah, they go like, that guy could take all the money and run, you know?
So, okay, that's an advantage. But, okay, let me play devil's advocate. Okay. I know someone has that question. Maybe it's, limited knowledge, I don't know. But that whole aspect to say only 21 million Bitcoin have ever been created, does it hold water? Because it can be forked how many times? How many times can you, now we have Bitcoin Cash, we have Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that. So does the statement 21 million actually hold water? Say,
I think yes and no.
Okay.
Because if it is Bitcoin, as in BTC,
yeah,
it's set, right? So if you want to make that argument and you want to be very strict about your reasoning, then hey, it's limited. There can be no more than 21 million Bitcoin. But obviously the forking that you're talking about is true because, Bitcoin Cash and all other things have come and gone. Yeah. See, this is what I was thinking. There's a difference between a layperson's perspective of the market and someone who really looks into it, right?
Okay.
Can I really sort of say, well, there's scarcity for Bitcoin, but there's no intrinsic value in Bitcoin? Can I look at that the same as something which is living in the sense that there's real production, there's something of value being made?
Okay, that's interesting.
I can't compare, I can't look at those two things the same way. I have to understand
that's very
difference.
Interesting, yeah.
So that's why I hope, and I'm confident that there are a lot of people out there who would actually look into it and understand the difference between the different cryptocurrencies that are out there.
Cryptocurrencies that are out there.
Yeah,
right,
yeah, definitely. And I think people will look at blockchain technology itself separate from the cryptocurrency.
That's very important.
And that's something that people will look into. And when people watch this, they'll think of other things that we're not talking about with respect to Bitcoin and blockchain technology and how the market looks at those two elements. One, we're going to talk about market adoption. Two, we're going to talk about legality. Yeah. Three, you're going to talk about the ability for it to actually conduct transactions per second and how well will that go over for the entire globe. We know that at this present stage, Bitcoin doesn't really provide the transactions per second that someone like a EOS would provide. All right. So it's kind of not the type of adoption you would expect from something that is going to go global.
All right.
You expect something that has better properties, because those properties that they talked about, they're cool as it relates to gold.
Yeah.
But they didn't talk about the fact that, hey man, this thing takes a long time to resolve. If I'm at the grocery store and I'm trying to,
that's true. And with the way the world is moving, that's one thing. Like, the problem is you can't change Bitcoin. That you can't do anything to Bitcoin. It's always going to stay the same, right? So, how does that look for the future of Bitcoin? Because 20 years from now, and you're still doing 7 transactions per second.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
So
these guys are not far from,
that's exactly. That's why you can't knock it. That's why I said, however, you gotta look at the different aspects of it, and that whole legal thing, is a powerful aspect too. Not to mention the transactions per second. We just put that to the side.
Okay.
We already know that's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. Okay. And I hate for people to look at this and say, wow, Bitcoin, oh no, we better get out.
No, it sounds like that.
No, not to sound like that. But it does have its issues. And you will need to have some level of administration, some level where you can change it. In Bitcoin right now, you can't change it. So in my opinion, you want to have some level of administration so that you can improve on something over time.
You have to evolve.
Got to evolve,
yes,
man. And so that's why I believe that there will be a 2.0.
All right.
There will be the evolution, and I see it happening. You know, you see waves, you see EOS, and you see these different blockchain technologies that are evolving beyond what Bitcoin offers. And I think there may be even other blockchain technologies that may come after this. And it will offer something even better. Who knows? But I think there will come a time that people will recognize, hey, guess what? Blockchain technology is here to stay.
No.
Now, which one that's going to be dominating, that's a question up for people to answer.
So the biggest contribution Satoshi did for us, there were two things, Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Blockchain.
Yeah.
You would agree, blockchain?
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely.
So further in the article, this is the part that interested me the most.
Okay.
I was like, what? You know, so they said there's, okay, besides the fact that it might fall down to zero, there's an upside,
Okay.
potential upside to it. You know the twins, the Facebook twins? That's Cameron and Taylor. That's the Facebook twins who had tussle with Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Yes. So it said that they had invested up to 11 million in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, and they had something to say. They said, "We believe Bitcoin disrupts gold." We think, I say in quotes, it's a better gold if you look at its properties. If you look at properties of money, and what makes gold gold? Scarcity. Bitcoin actually has a fixed supply, so it's better than scarce. It's more portable, it's fungible, it's more durable. It sort of equals a better gold across the board. You say that in February, speaking to CNBC, and I'm like, okay, that's a huge statement.
It is. It's a huge statement, and I think they're confusing Bitcoin cryptocurrency with blockchain technology. They are conflating Bitcoin and not addressing the issue with respect to TPS, transactions per second. You have to look at that and begin to say, what are my liabilities in respect to its capability to provide at least a certain amount of transactions per second that is acceptable to the global market for merchants. Someone like Visa and MasterCard, how are you going to compete?
Yeah.
You can't. So once someone like EOS comes along that can compete and even overtake transactions per second than Visa and MasterCard, then now you got something. Now imagine if there's a blockchain technology that comes along that is like EOS or is better in terms of its transactions per second, but has the same other properties of Bitcoin.
Okay.
Now you're talking about something.
All right.
But where is that? Is that here yet?
No.
It's not. I haven't seen it yet. So let's see.
What do you think, Ruben?
No. There's a lot that doesn't sit too well with me here. Like, scarcity is one thing.
Right.
That gives gold value, but it's not it's part of it, but it's not the complete thing. Gold is a very, very useful commodity. Yeah. It has industrial applications and has proved useful over time, both in use and as a store of value. Wow. The problem is Bitcoin is scarce, okay, but is there a usefulness that can guarantee me that market 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 1,000 years from now? That's my problem. That, Bitcoin answers just one of the questions, but not the other, or not the others that make gold what it is. So, it's more portable, as the Winklevoss twins do suggest. It's more portable, granted, but I don't know if that guarantees, again, as I was saying, that guarantees that market. To me, gold is still gold because it's gold and nothing else is gold. So let's not try to come up with
gold.
And on the portability issue, it's very easy. I mean, it's been done before, right? We don't need to carry billion bars.
I don't need that.
back when governments had a different, financial outlook, we had gold-backed currencies. And that allowed the effective portability of gold, because it meant if you were holding 100 of whatever currency, you knew that you could cash that in for gold.
Yeah.
So when you are asking about what if some other blockchain or some other technology comes along that matches some of those aspects of Bitcoin, I was thinking to myself, well, what if some other blockchain, not cryptocurrency, but blockchain comes along that creates a cryptocurrency that is in itself backed by gold?
That'll be deep. And that's what's happening right now. You see a lot of companies, you know, when you go to the goldscape.net, you see more and more companies attempting to back themselves by gold. And you buy one token and it equals, 1 gram of gold. Now, there's some counter risk involved with that. And the way you minimize that is the process by which Goldman is trying to do. What they're doing is saying, no, we're not going to rely on, I'm going to buy some gold from this guy over there. I'm actually going to, because what's the difference? I can go buy gold from many different people. Online, I can buy it. I can go down the street and buy it, especially in America. You can go down to the jeweler and buy some gold. There's a lot of merchants you can buy gold from. But what you can't do is hold value in a token, like the GMA token, hold your value, and then also get a royalty every month coming from the mine. Those are two added benefits that I find to be very appealing to an investor, because now he has a place to not only hedge when there's a bear market, but he also has an ability to now tell his client, you know what, we're going to park over here and we're going to get some very defined returns on our investment. And it's also part of a portfolio I want to have anyway. Just part of my portfolio. I want to have a little bit of this, a little slice of this gold with a little royalty on the back end, so that I know I have some definitive returns, a definitive ROI. And that's, you can't hate on that, man. You can't hate on
that.
First, let me just put this disclaimer up. We are not financial advisors. Please consult a professional before doing any type of investment. Please do not invest more than you can afford to lose, and do your due diligence, do your own research before investing. Now that that's out of the way, what you said is so powerful, because I was talking in an interview with this company called Crypto Disruption. And when I gave the interview, I told them that the basis of creating value is that value is contagious.
Wow.
It's a very contagious attribute in life, because value doesn't always just remain stagnant. It begins to move within a community, then from a community to a region, and then from a region to a nation, and then globally. And so when you begin to have an ecosystem of value that's traded among people of the world who are committed to helping the community around them, because now this is just not about I'm getting gold, like you said. Now it's about developing a community, because it's going to take the community around it to support that value creation. It doesn't create value creation in a vacuum. And people who don't realize that are very small-minded and are narrow in their thought process. When you have value creation, it's done within a community. That community takes part of it, and they now are infected with the value creation. They themselves create value for someone else, because value was created there. So when you invest with Goma, you're not just investing in the company, but you're investing in the community. And that community, in turn, now begins to infect the region.
Wow, that's powerful.
And then from the region, it infects the nation. And then from this nation alone, remember, Zimbabwe used to be the breadbasket of Africa.
It used to be, and it can be again.
And it can be again. And what happens when a place like Zimbabwe that is landlocked begins to have value, enough value to now have its own power grid that supplies power around the region? How does that impact the development of that entire region?
It's contagious. Wow, it
It's
just makes
contagious,
sense
man.
right now. It just makes sense to me.
It really is so. But anyway, go ahead, because I'll keep going, man.
No, but there's something about just this value thing that's just doing the rounds in my head. Look, any investment or any commitment of funds, if I'm looking forward to it, to getting some sort of benefit in the future, I can't invest in something static. It has to be alive or dynamic. Right?
Yes.
So one of the reasons why land is so good to invest in is if you're one of the lucky people hundreds of years ago who bought a square mile in New York City, you're
Right.
very, very good, or your great-grandchildren will be very, very good,
Yeah.
well set off, because that land attracts so many people to it, so much activity on it, that its value is not only consistent, actually it's not consistent, it's just growing.
It's growing.
Over time. So that's the difference in me when I look at Bitcoin, because money, three things, right? Store of value, exchange, and a unit of account. So the Winklevoss twins are making an argument on the store of value part,
Yeah.
right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's got the scarcity, but is there any living economic activity behind Bitcoin? I don't see it. So for me, it's very difficult to sort of say, I have $100,000 and I'm going to put it there. If it's for short-term speculation,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it maybe if you're playing a 3-5 year game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very good point, man. Very good point. And that brings us to what you were saying. You were sort of alluding to the fact that wouldn't you want to go into asset-backed cryptocurrency?
Yes.
Or a asset-backed blockchain technology? And I think it just makes sense, just based on what he said.
It makes total sense.
And based on what you're alluding to, it just makes all the sense in the world, especially when you think about it. You need to have something that's developing, that's living, that can interact with the actual value creation.
Yeah.
You need something to interact with that. But anyway, continue, man. Continue.
I actually like what you said. Question, would you rather, yes, you have an opportunity to get gold, to take your money and store it in gold, and it gets locked into a vault somewhere. That's it.
Yeah.
Or an opportunity to invest in a gold operation that is producing gold every day from a place that is known to have gold through scientific means. They've seen gold more than 6.1 billion just on one claim.
Yeah.
And there's ongoing royalties to the point where, so my question is, or rather what I want to say is, look at everything at an angle. People are obsessed with decentralization to the point where it gets in the way.
Yeah.
Decentralization is good, right?
Yeah.
But not all the time, not for everything. That's what I think. There's a point where you need actual work because, for example, with the mine, the mine is centralized because it's in that place. It's there, we're mining it. There's someone who has to manage it. We need skilled workmanship. We need all that. Yeah. So what I'm saying is look at everything at a critical angle, analyze things and say, you know what? Yes, there's scarcity here. Yes, there might be value here, but what do I want? What do I have as time goes on? Do I just, instead of just holding my value and leaving it at that, and maybe the storage fees, you know, you're actually not holding value there. because of a lot of things, and there's risk of it getting stolen and things like that. But with the mine that's operating, it'll be like that. So basically, we are out of time. This was a great conversation. Did I cut anyone off?
Before you go on, one of my favorite Americanisms ever is keep the main thing the main thing.
Oh,
remember what you're getting into, it, the reasons driving you to come to this space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any investment decision, just keep that in mind. What are you trying to achieve? And make sure that all decisions you're making lead you to that outcome.
Oh, great. Take it that was your last thought. Any last thoughts, Mr. J?
I'm leaving it right there. That's a
I'm there
strong
too.
one.
That's
Keep the main thing the main thing. Hey man, make
Amen
sure
to that.
the goose that lays the golden egg, make sure you take care of that goose.
Oh wow, that's good. That's good. That's good. Hey guys, if you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And look out for new episodes. We release content every single day. And from me and the team, that's bye-bye.